Boxing King Media in association with Boxro. Big Johnny Fisher just watched you do some really good rounds in the gym. One of the things I want to raise is, I said to you off camera, people talk about you being raw, but I saw some proper skills in there.
Yeah, definitely. Me and Guido, I was sparring today, a good elite amateur, an Olympian as well. Great to always get rounds with him because I can learn off people like that with that amateur pedigree, and that's helping develop me. And one thing we just spoke about off camera is about developing what you can do in sparring and taking that into your fights. Listen, by no means was that, not every spar is going to be a 10 out of 10. That was a good spar, good competitive one, and you develop and you learn. And as you said, I've shown a little bit of boxing skill there, but Rome wasn't built in a day. Not every day is going to be a 10 out of 10. Some days are going to be a 7, sometimes they're going to be 8. But as long as you don't go below a 7, we're on the right way.
It's the same with food, mate. If you go to a Chinese, you're not always going to get a 10 out of 10. Sometimes
you're always going to get fantastic campo prawns. Sometimes you're going to get them ones that have been frozen and out of the packet, but they'll do a job if you're still going to satiate your hunger. So you're in a good position.
Definitely. Johnny, I want to get your opinion on the biggest boxing topic probably to hit this year. Just want to get your initial reaction to first hearing about the Conor Benn failed test.
Disappointing as a boxing fan first and foremost, because I was really looking forward to it. But if there's a discrepancy, I know Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn have said that there needs to be some more research into it, get the B sample, etc. Still ongoing, but they've done the right thing, because if there is a discrepancy, there's two men going into the ring, they can't risk it. And Eddie Hearn, Conor Benn, the Sowlands, the Board of Control, they've done the right thing, because you can't have something like that looming over you, because if something did happen in the fight, who's to blame then? It's very disappointing. And I know Conor Benn, I like Conor Benn, and I hope we can get to the bottom of it, because he's a very genuine guy.
He definitely is, and I can vouch for that. You know, there's a big confusion over the whole testing procedure and who governs who. Were you confused by, like for example, as a young boxer coming up, do you know the system?
Well, listen, I don't know the system inside out, but I know from being in camps with Joe Joyce, I think it's VADA or WADA. I think VADA comes under WADA, and you've got UCAD, but VADA are the guys who are just on you all the time. Like, they can turn up whenever they want, and Joe was just rigorously being tested all the time. So they're a little bit more, can catch you by surprise and stuff like that. So, but if they're both voluntarily, I think all matchroom fighters in all the contracts, they can voluntarily sign up to WADA or VADA. So it is confusing, but if the tests are in place, they're there for a reason, and the most important thing is the boxer's safety, so the right thing has been done.
I think the biggest argument with this one was, I think what Eddie raised as well, the British Boxing Board are governed by UCAD. UCAD tested him clean, and VADA, who they obviously all signed up for and paid for, they obviously come up with the finding. However, they don't govern the British Boxing Board, because Billy Joe Saunders had a similar situation the other way around. Yeah. Did you know that, or was that the first time you heard about that?
I did know that VADA and WADA were separate to UCAD, and UCAD is the Board of Control, sort of the one that they use. But whatever happens, there's been a discrepancy on adverse finding in a drugs test. So whether it's VADA, UCAD, whatever, they have to go by it. Otherwise, anybody can turn up, have an adverse finding, or fail a drugs test, and then it can. Like, I could go into my fight on the 29th of October. I could fail a drugs test and say, oh, well, the precedent is from the Conor Benn Eubank fight that you can go ahead with it. There needs to be some sort of law and order, and there has to be some sort of precedent. Otherwise, it can all just go and run wild.
Definitely, and you will see there's been loads of scrutiny online with the way it was all handled. As a boxing fan and as a boxer, and obviously you're a matchroom fighter, so you've got to be careful what you say, but how did you think it was handled? Because initially, obviously, Eddie tried to make sure the fight, was to go ahead, but then eventually they changed their mind.
Well, I'm glad that they've done the right thing in terms of not letting the fight go ahead. We know the history of the Chris Eubanks and the Nigel Benns with Michael Watson, Gerald McClellan. The first and foremost thing with any boxing promotion, anything that goes on, is the safety of the boxers, because you do risk your life when you go in there. People do die in this sport. And if there's any niggling doubt, whether it was unintentional, whether this was a trace adverse finding, they've come to eventually the right decision, because just say that fight did go ahead and something did go wrong, whose head does it fall on? And that would be a complete tragedy if it did happen. So the right decision has been made, and I think that's the most important thing. Forget what happened, the right decision has been made.
And in regards to, like, again, being a young fighter, how many times would you say you've been tested in your career so far, and is it enough?
I haven't been tested once yet, at all. But one thing I do know for myself, and this isn't, I heard it on Talk Sport the other day, I think it was Adam Cattrall, this isn't tennis, this isn't athletics, this isn't soccer, football. This is boxing when we're going there to intentionally hurt each other. So to try and get an advantage over someone when you're in a sport you're actively trying to hurt someone, that would never even cross my mind one second at all.
Did you see the stuff on Twitter in regards to this doctor that apparently was employed by Conor, who's now closed all his social media accounts down?
We're probably getting I've seen on Instagram everyone's getting a lot of hate out there, and there's a lot of things being said. A lot of it is not true, a lot of stuff is just hateful, but listen, people are going to be angry because they've paid all this money. Think of all the people that have paid for their hotel rooms, for the tickets. There's a lot of anger out there, and people are frustrated. So I don't know what the ins and outs of it with this doctor, but it's not looking good at the minute, and I don't know what else is to say. It's not a good situation to be in for anyone who's involved.
Definitely. And just to wrap up on that subject, how do you think it's going to unfold? Obviously, from what Eddie said, it sounds like he's trying to suggest that the levels of whatever was found were really low, so there might be an argument that it could have been something else. It
could have been. Listen, that's why they need the due process of finding out the whole test. You can't just you couldn't go ahead with the fight at this stage because the whole examination of the B sample as well, that hasn't been done. So they have to, before the fight goes ahead, they need to clear out everything and see exactly what's happened. And once that's done, hopefully they can get the fight back on. But at the minute, it's so cloudy and nothing's for certain. So to have a fight of that magnitude with that weight discrepancy as well and the rehydration clause, it would have been too difficult to do. So they've done the right thing, get the results, get to the bottom of it, and then hopefully they can get it back on Christmas time or early next year.
And as it's a hot subject, as a young fighter, have you ever had anyone approach you to try and sell it to you, like, this will improve your performance or anything like that?
I can honestly say I've played rugby at university, I've been in all different gyms, I've never had it approached to me, and I wouldn't ever entertain it either, because I've been put on this earth, I've got the strength that I need, and hard work and dedication will get me as far as I'm going to go, and I don't want to cheat to get there.
And just a quick word on your next fight, when the fans can see you back out.
29th of October, we're just looking for an opponent now. We've had a couple of guys, we had a 3-0 guy, we're trying to look at a 6-0 guy now, but a couple of them have pulled out, said they've got injuries. Another one we tried to get through the board, he was 10-2, and because he hadn't fought since November, that was quite difficult to get the matchmaking. So it's been quite hard getting the matchmaking for this one, but hopefully in the next couple of days we'll get a fighter signed on. But it's all about getting the right opponent at the right time. I don't want easy people, I don't want people that are too above my pay grade. As you said, I'm still developing in the gym, I'm showing good improvements, but when you fight, that's where you do your real learning, and it's got to make sure we get this right. And my managers are doing a great job. Mark Tibbs is a fantastic trainer, and my dad has a big input as well. We're having a good journey so far, and we want to keep it going.
Definitely. Last question, Johnny. If Varda turned up at this gym today and tested you for Chinese, what would come back?
They would say fucking positive. He's got Campo prawns running through his brain, through his blood, not his brain. Might be in my brain as well. Who knows? Sorry for swearing as well. Didn't mean that. Sorry, Mum.
Johnny, I appreciate your time, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Bosh.